Welcome back to another video. In this one we'll be looking at the best captain options for round 4, which isn't that long away. We'll take a look at each team and look at 3 or 4 really decent options for who you can captain this coming round. If you've got any other suggestions, then drop them down below. And as always, subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn notifications on to not miss a video. Teams will be announced very soon, tomorrow and Friday, so you know there's going to be a team selection video happening Friday evening. So first up is Italy, and I've gone for 3 people here. So first, Ange Capuozzo. We all know he's injured, so he isn't really an option. I think he's out for the rest of the Six Nations as well, which is obviously disappointing for them, but it does follow nicely onto my second player in Pierre Bruno. So with Capuozzo gone, Bruno could be the linchpin to that back 3 and could really get some excitement going, especially with the way Italy play. Also scored a try last round, so on form and potentially can get good meterage as well. Finally is Lorenzo Canone. Had a stormer of a last round. I think he scored well over 60 points. Carries really hard, plays number 8 but actually a second row in fantasy, so for point scoring really good. Italy obviously do face Wales, which could be a wooden spoon decider. So Italy are home. Do I back them? They beat Wales last year, so who knows, it's anyone's game. Next up is Wales, and as I mentioned before, this game has the potential to be a wooden spoon decider, so if Wales are to kick on, then this will be the game to do that. So first up, I've gone with Justin Tipuric. Seems to be favoured a little bit more than, say, like a Jack Morgan. Obviously, so much experience, turnover ability, but also carrying in the wide channels to get some good meterage, and that also follows on to Taulupe Faletau. Always sits in wide channels, gets really good carries, and potential for tries as well. Ken Owens, skipper of Wales, obviously. Their driver maul will probably be something that Italy might fear. Italy want to play expansive, Wales might want to keep it tight, so Ken Owens could get really good points from these driver mauls, but also tackles too. And he also stays on for pretty much all the 80 minutes as well. And lastly is a really high contender for this week's captain is Reece Zammit. So came back after injury last week and scored a try against England, well over 70 points. So he's definitely going to be on your radar, if not your captain already. Next up is England versus France, and the England boys that I've picked is Lewis Ludlam, Ollie Lawrence and Freddie Stewart. If I'm being perfectly honest, I probably am not going to captain an England player, just because it's a really tough fixture against France. They are home, so it is a possibility that they can dominate, which is why I've picked Lewis Ludlam, who I've actually really liked at the start of this Six Nations. They scored me, well over 50, 40 odd points each game, so a really solid and consistent performer. I have no doubt that he's going to continue that against France as well. Ollie Lawrence, we all know, rising star in that England squad, and the centres. And then Freddie Stewart had 2 pretty quiet game weeks at the start, but the third absolutely smashed out the park against Wales. He's just an aerial diffuser really, so if France do kick the ball like they normally do, then he can be under it, hopefully get some good points as well. Then in France, there seems to just be a lot of star-studded names here, so I've picked Olivon, Ramos, Penaud and Dupont as best captain options. Olivon because Jelonch is now injured, so he's going to have to step up and be that carrying outlet like Jelonch was, but also in turnovers as well. So if he can perform to the standard we know he can, then he'll be a really decent option. Thomas Ramos had a smashing round last week. He also kicks for France, so gets really good points there, but is also at fullback, so in terms of meters gained, he's going to get so many. Then finally, Penaud and Dupont, while both of them are pretty much star-studded in the Six Nations, Penaud obviously has that flair and can score a try out of nothing, as we saw last round. And then Dupont is ex-World Player of the Year and literally can do anything that no player can. So really good options for France. Keep your eye out for these. Next up is Scotland, who have a really tough fixture against probably the Grand Slam winners in Ireland. They are home, so Murrayfield is a place that they can do it. But captain options here, I've gone for Matt Fagerson, Hugh Jones, Van der Merwe, and of course Finn Russell. So first off, Matt Fagerson plays number 8, really good carrying ability, and if they are to keep the ball, then this is going to be a huge outlet for them. But if I'm honest, I don't see this happening really. Ireland's defence and possession is just way too high. Hugh Jones, really good option as well. Has scored, I think, 70 points a few times the Six Nations already, so he's a really good option, and obviously that running threat in the 13 channel. Van der Merwe was my captain for the first 2 rounds, but then really faded in that France game. Only scored something like, I think it was something ridiculous, like 10 points, which is obviously just crazy, but that obviously was a blip. If Scotland can get him the ball, he can be destructive. Finally, Finn Russell, we all know what he can do. If Scotland do click, then he's going to be at the heart of that, scoring assists, but also kicking 50-22s as well, which get good points in fantasy. And finally, probably where you want to place your bets most on captain picks is Ireland. So I've gone with Caelan Doris, who's been almost performer of the Six Nations so far, and then the whole entire Ireland back 3 after their performance in round 3. So, as I said, Doris has been Six Nations player of the tournament so far. Little bit of a blip last round against Italy, but he did start at 6. When he moved back to 8, he was so destructive and scored most of his points. Finally is the back 3. So James Lowe, Hugo Keenan and Mack Hansen all have such a threat. They probably won't all get as good points as they did against Italy, but they do have that firepower at the back. James Lowe is obviously really consistent. Hugo Keenan's been performing brilliantly. And Mack Hansen, I think, just goes under the radar a little bit. But against Italy, he definitely didn't. I think he was man of the match. So any 3 of these are a really key option here. So they're my top picks for captains looking for round 4. Let me know what you think of them down in the comments and who you're potentially going to go with. I'm definitely looking at Rhys Sammet, but also that Ireland back 3 is pretty destructive, especially what they did to Italy last round. As I said, let me know who you're going to go with down in the comments. I'll have a video out on Friday evening once all the teams are announced for my team selection, so make sure you're subscribed and turn notifications on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.